Information was disseminated, and we are very sure with that.
But we have to spend a bit of time to learn where our people get the information from.
The reasons why some quarters of our society were not caught by the media we used is probably what type of radio station are they interested in. To me, that is a gap. We should have maybe used several radio stations.
I've noticed from the list that I saw on social media and also speaking with some councillors, there's wards that have gotten as much as over 1 million. I can't remember the highest I saw, but there's also wards that have gotten as little as 50,000. What could have gone so right for others and gone so wrong for the others that they get only like really 50,000 of the 25.7 million?
Off my head, I can't remember anybody getting 50,000. But
there's Nakatindi ward.
Okay, now we have to look at the details. But either way, the result of this deliberation process that has come out to be published everywhere is, it has come through a process of many considerations. You will agree with me that there is certain places within the constituency whose problems have got a higher severity than the others. Okay, I will take an example of Freedom Ward, for instance. There is lots of flood waters that inundate that ward during the rainy season. And it's got the lowest level of development in terms of the roadworks and the drains and all those things.
Which one is Freedom Ward?
Freedom Ward would be...
what's the landmark?
You would find Mwandi compound,
Oh, okay.
just around the airport area there. And it's quite a low-lying... It's actually a drain cesspool of the city out of the airport. And it takes most of the water from there. They've got a famous road, the Botswana Road. It's fairly new, but south of the Botswana Road, it's a disaster whenever it rains. You may not even be able to make it to your house at some point. Wall fences collapse, and it's just a disaster during that time. So you would find that if I allocate money to rehabilitate a road or a drain in Mwandi, the cost of that is not just to put gravel and then shut the road. It will actually be to first bury the hole that's created by the rains, and also to now work it up to a point where we should be able to have traffic over it. Okay, so you find that a kilometer of roadworks in this particular township or the ward
will cost more than
other places.
So is that the part? I know you said you're a civil engineer.
Yeah.
Is that the part also where other members, especially from the local authority, also bring in their expertise in the deliberations?
Yes. And in fact, what actually happens, you will see with all these lists that are going around on social media, there is times when the communities themselves, okay, maybe not speaking from a point of expertise, but they will say, we'd like a road done here and we want 300,000 kwacha. We pick it up and we'll say, okay, they asked for 300,000 kwacha. So we send the technical committee, all extracted from the local authorities' competent persons. They'll go and make an assessment. And most of the times, they come back and say, yes, there is a bad road, it needs to be fixed. There's a request for 300,000, it will not do half the work. Here is our technical estimate, and we think with this you'll be able to do that.
Okay,
so when it comes to that, then we all sit down there and say, okay, fine, but is it very critical that we can do it? Does the budget support this? And is it impactful? What is the cost of not doing this now? So then we come to those resolutions and say, okay.
So what the applicants ask for the community projects, I think, can either be reduced or increased based on
They can be
the...
reduced or increased.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because I think it's for
Projects is-
empowerment where you say there's a cap of 40,000.
Yeah.
And there's no limit for the community projects?
No,
No,
there's
no.
no limit.
In
Is
fact,
it the-
we've had proposals that would literally take 40% of the fund just from one ward. You know, so but at the end of the day, then we have to play a balancing act.
How in the deliberations do you ensure that the three councillors, especially that sit on the committee, that they don't have
Monopoly.
no, I will not say monopoly, but they don't have yes, that they don't have too great an advantage over the other councillors who are not on the committee? What measures are put in place?
I think, like you mentioned earlier, when they are in this committee, they don't look at themselves belonging, for example, him belonging to.
We are human.
Freedom.
How do you get together?
Doesn't work. Yeah.
No, but
Like-
the rest of the members will always quickly check and see if the councillor who is in this committee is trying to favor themselves. That check is always there. So I remember there was a time when one of the councillors, when we were discussing their award, they were asked to go out.
Okay.
You-
So they were
call
not
it-
part of the
They were
deliberations?
not part of the deliberation.
Conflict of interest?
Yes.
Okay.
And they signed a form to
Okay.
attest to that.
Okay.
So there is that, particularly if what we are discussing is that sensitive, we will always ask the councillor to go outside so that the rest of the members are free to discuss that. But there is one thing which I wanted to add, which Cuthbert was, when you were talking of how some words getting this, others getting that. Let me give an example of word Kavira for grants. Kavira word, all the applications, they wrote 40,000. All of them. And it was a huge heap.
140
So they went for the
applications.
maximum.
Yeah, they all went for 40,000, which is the maximum.
But different
Different project proposals. Already that it can't be believed that several cooperatives can come up with that. Now, the same Kavira, what happened with
That's
them?
for the grants,
That's
for the loans,
for the grants.
Mhm.
For the grants. The same Kavira, we noticed that, but we didn't mind. We said, let's check and see. Probably, maybe they are arriving at 40 genuinely. We found that Kavira never made any attachments. Almost
So it was just the
the application
application.
form and the filling in they did. Attachments of the NRCs, attachments of committee meeting minutes,
Nothing.
whatever was nothing, was not there. So already you can see that this word was not guided by the councillor.
okay.
Because
So
the councillor,
the gap is on the level of the councillor not providing the information.
that is what we
What?
were able to deduce.
Okay. What were the other common omissions that you observed?
Yes, lack of attachments was very common. Also,
Not just for Kabila one.
Not just for Kabila.
For the
I mean,
constituency as a whole.
Yes, we also had not quite on a large scale omissions by the WDCs.
Not sign.
Where they are supposed to sign, some of them were signing where the CDF chairman is supposed to sign. Instead of signing on their
So all
part-
those are some of the things that led them to be left out?
no,
That
no,
could have
not-
led...
like what we said, where the WDC chairman did not sign, we called him to come
Okay.
and sign.
Okay.
We are just saying those are some of the
The
observations.
observations that were made.
Yeah.
Is it
There
possible?
would be a few, very typical of some places. Okay, and this has actually come under quite a lot of discussion and contention. Musotunya ward. Now, I was born down there, so I know it's a fairly, well-up place,
Community.
Well-up community.
Just
We had-
describe where it is, just for
It
context.
would be around Hillcrest area and
Down.
down into Wasawange and all that place, Ilan Bretel and the other places. In those places, we had 5 applications for community projects. No, it's not. These are grants we're talking about. And out of the 20 approved community
grants.
projects, the grants, none went to Msotho
Tumsotunya.
because they all asked for money more than 40,000. Okay, they were fairly good proposals, but at the end of the day, they wanted more than what was approved, than what the rules actually stipulate. So at that point, you cannot fault the rules. Even if you wanted to be very inclusive, you haven't got a choice. And it's not just Musotunya where we had all these sort of things, but a lot
It's
of
things
other
that you
Yeah, but-
observed across.
Yeah, so there is those things that just knock you out of the game from the outset. It doesn't even get to the second stage of discussion. For instance, if you wanted a bursary and you're already more than 35, what is that, youth empowerment. So you're out, from the get-go.
What's your relationship
So-
like with the councillors, with the councillors particularly, as a committee? Is there a forum where it's deliberate, you meet with them as a committee, especially when you begin deliberating on this, that you've had to at least mention the shortcomings you're observing from their words?
No, we have had no such a meeting before. But we take it that since in the CDF committee, there are 3 councillors, that is the way we think that these 3 councillors, whatever goes on in this committee, they will be able to share with their colleagues.
Okay, what's your relationship like?
Well, the relationship is very good.
Okay.
I think as councillors in that committee, I think we've actually approached some of our fellow councillors in regard to their applications. Okay, like he mentioned, if a cooperative has applied for more money, and we are able to see their business or project proposal that this is the exact amount actually that it needs, there is really nothing that us as the CDF committee can do, because you are talking in relation to what you want to do. It means if we reduce the amount and you fail to actually do your project, you actually come back and say, this was my project proposal, and this is the amount that I needed, and you gave me this. How do you expect me to do the business? There are other business proposals where someone says their business, they want to keep pig. And where? They've indicated that they want to keep the pigs at house number 2999 in Akaperwa Ward or in Dambwa Central.
And the council will not allow that.
From
But
there,
there's
it
a lot
becomes
of
a problem.
suspicion and very strong views by some councillors that the committee has not lived up to the expectations of the councillors because there's no communication. I gave an example of in Nakatindi Ward where for 2022 they've only received 50,000 kwacha.
Let me come in on that. These are some of the things that we've actually done to help some of these councillors. I'll start with Musi Otunya ward, where when we went in to look at applications, we discovered that they didn't have some applications that were submitted there. He can attest that we called him to bring in new submissions for his ward. And he brought them in when we were actually sitting having a meeting. And what more does someone want? We are talking about the 50,000 that you are referring to, which is Nakatindi Ward. They want a police post in their application. We are asking them, where is the land where you want to put a police post? They don't have. What must this committee do?
Okay.
There's no
so there's
land.
actually that rapport to
Yes.
kind of explain.
Yes,
Because
we've explained
the
to say,
feeling- the
just
feeling-
one moment, ma'am. We've explained to say, can you find this land for you to have this funding? Can you imagine if we funded a project for a police post and they've got no land? And then the auditors come and ask, we've seen that you have approved a police post in Nakatindi ward. Can you take us to the site where this police post would be? And there is no land. What will happen to us?
The feeling I got when I was interjecting you is that until the announcement was made or until the post was posted on social media, the councillors were not aware even of what projects had been funded in their in their wards.
It's difficult because even us,
Yes.
as the CDF committee members, we didn't know.
But who is supposed to inform
What happened, Mambi, is that we just shortlist and make proposals. We don't approve. So the approval is done by the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. So it is not in order for the shortlisting that we have made. You start telling people, no, we have shortlisted this, we have shortlisted that. Not when you don't know what will be the result after the Minister of Local Government looks at your proposal. So that is where the CDF committee cannot start telling people what they have done. It's because what they do, it is subject to changes at the Ministry of Local Government.
Is there a rapport between the CDFC and the minister when you've also made the submission?
The rapport is just our submission.
It's just a submission.
Just a submission.
So when it's coming back, what's the communication? What has the communication been like for what projects have been funded? Has it come back to the CDFC? Has it just gone to the council?
It comes through the council from the minister. It basically comes to the secretariat, and the secretariat will call for a meeting with the chair to come and unveil.
Did that happen
project.
for this year? This particular
Yeah,
year?
it just happened when? A week ago, 2 weeks?
That was
So who is supposed to communicate to who? Because like I'm saying, some councillors feel very strongly, and especially that they only got to know about what their wards were getting. At the time, the rest of the constituents were knowing. So the communication around that, how was it handled? And going forward, how do you wish that is handled, perhaps as a committee?
I think we had a shortfall on that one, because when the application, the approvals came, just like my colleague said, we looked at the money that we have, as at now, and then made a further shortlisting to apportion the money that we have. I think we should have maybe called the councillors to tell them what was approved by the minister or so. But there's one other thing which I think the area question which we needed to put across as what shows a big difference between one ward and the other in terms of approvals. I don't think we covered that one adequately. I gave an example of Kabira. I'm sure you followed that one.
Yes, yes.
The other thing is, let's take an example of Freedom. There were so many applications from Freedom Ward than from any other ward when it came to grants. Meaning, the councillor for Freedom guided his ward.
He did his homework.
He did his homework. Other wards, for example, Musotunya, where we have this problem. Musotunya, maybe we had only 5, just like what he said.
You're saying 4 applications?
Freedom, you had how many?
We had
over 100.
125.
Yeah. I want you to make this difference. Information was disseminated at the same time. Here is a response from Freedom, 124 applicants. From Musotunya, 5. Now, when it comes to allocation, We don't look at it. We don't say, no, we have given too much to freedom. No, it's like we close our eyes. We are looking at the need. Submissions from the word. Here is Musotunya whose submissions are less and they are also poorly done. Definitely, this word will not get what the other word has gotten. I think we need to make that very clear.
Do you think in the way that the CDF has been carried out, especially for 2022, that it will help reduce poverty, it will create jobs? And for what you are saying, what makes you say so?
So the issue is that whatever we are doing with regards to disbursement, approvals, lack thereof, is all tailored in making sure that we close the gaps that exist therein. Because these are what the residents themselves through the WDCs have identified as, this is what they have identified as obstacles towards towards attaining their development. So if we can give people accessibility for roads, for instance, they'll be able to get to their markets, they'll be able to do this and that. One of the places we talked about in Livingstone, the city has grown almost to saturation, but about 60 or 40% of it, I might be wrong on the statistic, but 40% of it is actually out there in Kasia. Now, you know that Kasia is
mostly rural.
Mostly rural, and the farming block, agriculture farming block. Okay, we've got hotels and other businesses here that use a lot of agricultural output. But you know that not more than 20% of that comes from Kasia. So the issue with Kasia is we need to open it up, give them accessibility. That's why you see within our list, one of the biggest chunks that has gone into Kasia is to create accessibility roads.
I think I've seen 7 kilometers plus.
Yeah, so we think if we open that, we open it up to the market, the agricultural players and everything, that's going to give them a way to participate in the economics of the town and also be able to end poverty. So that's just one example, and there is a few others. I think we'll be building a pipeline of water to Molala.
Okay.
A place where you cannot draw water. I think that most of the boreholes are dry and all these other things. So we start to open all these areas.
Yeah, because I'm also looking at time.
And also I'm coming up with the 5.
Oh yes, the
we
5.
The 5.
The 5. You just run through. What are the 5 that you observed from
water and sanitation, roads and drainages, health facilities, education and empowerment.
Okay. So with those, would you say the CDF has the ability to help reduce poverty, to create jobs, and for citizens to participate as all these are happening?
Certainly, we can say so.
Okay.
Because, for instance, the grants that have been given to cooperatives, that's job creation. They will be doing something and earning something. So ultimately, like what we said when we were giving checks to those cooperatives that we have started with, that by 1 year from now, they should not be the way they are today. There must be a change, unless they don't want to change. Because the money they have been given, it will make them be on their toes every day to ensure that they make more money. So to us, that is job creation. And also participation. They will be doing something. As they earn a living, they will be contributing towards poverty reduction in the town.
Okay. And finally, I'll come back to you, Chair. Finally, what do you think the CDFC, the Constituency Development Fund Committee, needs to do different and perhaps better going forward? I'll start. Councillor Mumba.
Basically, I think we've done the best. We will always look to do better if there are other people that think we've not done it. But I think we've done it. We've done it. Yes, there's always something that can come out, but our best has been put in. I think the CDF committee, the 12-man delegation, I think it is doing the best.
There are women there as well.
Oh, 10 men and women.
Yes.
Yeah, men and women in this CDF I think they're doing their best to make sure they bring development to the city of Livingstone.
Okay.
All we need is the community to work with us, and we will do it better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What lessons have you picked from this year's CDF committee? What can be done better moving forward?
Well, I always get the posture of continuous learning, and I think given the circumstances, we haven't done so bad, but particularly on a personal level, and I think some of my members, fellow members share this, we have to improve on engagement, information dissemination. It is not right that people get to learn things at the very last time when they can't do do anything about it. I think in the field of communication, as a committee, we've got some unpaid tuition fees on that. We're going to learn, obviously, going forward. And also, perhaps there has to be common consensus on prioritization of interventions under the fund, and hopefully we get to do much better. But I'm fairly satisfied with the results so far. It's not pleasing to everyone, but we think we've done quite well.
Okay. And finally, the chairperson. You've had quite some work. There's lots of work under you. What lessons have you picked from the 2022 fund, and going forward, what would you like to do better?
There has been a very high expectation from CDF, from members of the public, because of the high pronouncements that has been made by our leaders on CDF. Now, these high expectations, people thought whoever applied would be given some money, which has not been the case. I personally feel what we have done is what we were supposed to do this year. And what I wanted to say is that I know that we cannot give everybody this time, but slowly, most of the cooperatives, clubs, organizations that are applying for CDF here in Livingstone, each one of them will get their share. I just want them to be patient. Let's see what happens in the next year. I know that most of those that we have not picked this year will be given their share. I want them to be patient.
Thank you. And on that note, we come to the end of today's episode of Local Pulse. Today we were speaking to some committee members of the Constituency Development Fund Committee for Livingstone Constituency. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
In the weeks to come, we shall have more conversations with the councillors to incorporate your views as citizens as we continue to delve into the operations of local government and how participation of citizens in the democratic process can foster development. In the meantime, we would like to hear from you. If you have any comments or suggestions about the program, send them to localpulse@quadcommunications.org or call us on 0977 586 506. Thank you for your time.